Okay, hang on 1 second. Okay, I've got it. I think I know what happened. I know what happened. Sorted. I think it's sorted anyway. You guys should be able to hear me now. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what happened there. That should not have happened. It normally doesn't. But there we go. So audio is fixed, and it was not to do with Studio One or anything like that. It was to do with flipping OBS. So, should we start again? Let's start again. Hello, and welcome to May the 1st, Jonny Lipsham Studios Sunday Night Live. And I've got that sentence completely backwards, but this is second take is going just as well as the first. So anyway, hope everybody is okay. Hope everyone has had a great week. I've had a busy one, in that I have been on vacation, and as such, I now need a vacation from my vacation, if you know what I mean, which is what I was saying when the mic was muted. So, and I don't know why the mic was muted, but it is sorted now. It is a little bit weird, to say the least, that OBS just randomly muted my mic, and I don't know why. I shall have to look into that. So that is what it is. But anyway, hope everyone's doing good. I think we have a small audience, which is a bit disappointing. I would like it if we had a bit more of a crowd, but we don't. We have 10 people here. In fact, we have less than 10 people here, which is a bit disappointing. But anyway... if you could go grab some folks, that would be appreciated. I did advertise the show, and Louis advertised as well. So, it would be nice if we could, kind of get back to, having at least 34, 35 people here, which is what we were kind of beginning to average. So it'd be nice if we could get that back up to where it was. Starts like that won't be helping, particularly, because everyone will think I'm just a rank amateur. Which I'm not. I've been doing this now I've been doing Sunday Night Live now since 2017 is when I started doing Sunday Night Live. And it wasn't really called Sunday Night Live. It was, I don't know what we called it. I don't think we called it anything. But anyway. So this show is nearly 5 years old. And we have had quite the evolution on this show, to say the least. But anyway, I hope everyone is good. And you can all hear me now, which is good. So sorry about that. I apologize. I don't know why that was the way it was, but it was weird. I don't know why OBS does that sometimes. Anyway, so you guys were desperately trying to get a hold of me and saying, no audio, no audio, no audio, no audio, no audio. Yay, sound. Yes. Sound is fixed, and you should have Studio One audio, because you should have heard the theme tune music at the start there. And I had Bob and Ken saying mic's muted, no audio, yes. Alright, all sorted. So, if you have Studio One questions or questions regarding music theory, arranging, composing, using Studio One or Notion, then please get your questions in the chat, and we'll get them answered. Otherwise, it'll be a very, very short show. And you know me, I don't like short shows, particularly. I like to try and get to the full hour if we can do. So, for those of you that are wondering what happened to my Note Effects series, I did say that there was a video coming, which was going to demonstrate how you can combine the different note effects to create really creative things. That video is still in the works, but of course I went on vacation pretty much after I promised that video was going to come. I went on vacation because it was our anniversary, and so it's done. I just haven't edited it yet, and I haven't uploaded it yet. But that will happen probably tomorrow. More than likely, it will happen tomorrow, and it will go up on the channel probably tomorrow evening. So if you are enjoying that Note Effects series, then please do check that out, because it's been actually really good fun to make that video series and to get to know how the Note Effects work. because, I mean, I don't think there are very many videos out there on the note effects and how they work. And I certainly haven't touched the note effects, hardly. So I thought it would be a good idea to do a series on it, because I don't think anybody else has. So that is going to come, and then the last video of that series will be a video where I'll actually use the instruments in Studio One and the note effects to create a piece of music, just a short piece of music. So you can see some practical application for some of the note effects. Now, the input filter, which I did a video on, doesn't really do a lot. It does some things. You can filter MIDI notes out by velocity and by range, so that you can limit what MIDI input comes into Studio One. Which I suppose has some practical applications, but not everybody's going to need it, but it's there. The most useful ones are the repeater, the arpeggiator, and the quarter, and you can combine all three of those in any kind of order you want, or any situation that you might want to use them in. So that video will come at the end of the series, and then that will wrap up that note effects series. So once that series is done, if you guys have an idea for another series of videos that you would like me to make, drop me an email. Website is down at the bottom there, jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk. Go to my website and scroll down to the bottom of the page. There is a contact form you can fill out there, and just let me know what your idea for videos or a series of videos might be, and I'll make your videos. I'll make the videos that you guys want to see. So if you have a particular thing that you don't really know much about, or you would like to know more about in Studio One, then drop me that email and I will get those videos made. I will create a list of videos based on your suggestions, and that's how we'll roll, and I'll get those videos made. Now that I have moved house and we're a bit more settled, and the builders are way over the other side of the development now, so it is easier to make videos than it was last year, because last year they were still building just across the street, and there's no way I could make any videos because it was just too damn noisy, and the sound of the building works would have come into the mic and it would have wrecked the videos. So now that we have that kind of they're a little bit further away now, it's easier for me to make videos. So that is what I want to do. Ken says, I just used the filter to get rid of key switches so I didn't accidentally hit a key to change my sound in the present guitar preset. That's a really good practical application of the input filter. That's a great idea, because you can limit the range, which is great. So, if you have key switches down this end of your keyboard, you can filter those out so that when you're playing MIDI notes, you don't trigger anything. So that's a really good practical application of that. So definitely agree with that. Mike is saying sorry he's late. Don't worry, I'm saying sorry that the start of this show is pretty horrendous. So there we go. So I think there we have caught up with all the news, and we're kind of hanging with about 15 or so people here, which is about half of what I would like to see. And certainly half of what we have been seeing. The last Sunday we got to 36, I think it was last Sunday. So it would be nice if we could get back up to that kind of altitude. So like I said, if you know people who you think this show would benefit, even if they're not in one of the Studio One groups, maybe you've met them in PersonaSphere, or maybe you've met them in the community tab in PersonaSphere, then let them know. Let them know that this show happens every Sunday night at 6 p.m. Central Time, and hopefully more people will come. That would help me a lot, because you guys are freaking awesome. All right, let's go see who was first in the door. And I'm going to unpin this now. That message I put at the top there. Billy Morgan was the first in the door. as he always is these days. He's always first, which is awesome. And Just Bob is here. And Louis from Alps Media is here. John Hawk, Kyle Drudziak is here as well. Don Oliver joined us as well. Ronald Figura says, will you be observing Mother's Day next Sunday? If so, will that mean no show? Well, you see, either side of the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, you guys have Mother's Day on a different date than we do. So your Mother's Day is not going to affect me particularly. So I think I have always done a show during Mother's Day, and the reason being is because for me, I'm doing this show at midnight. So it is now 20 past midnight. So for you guys, that's like 20 past 6 in the evening or 20 past 5 in the evening, depending upon where you are, or even 20 past 8 in the evening, depending upon where you are in the United States. And if you're crazy enough to be watching from Europe, then it's going to be like 20 past 1 in the morning and maybe even later, depending upon where you are. And if you're in Australia, New Zealand, it's going to be lunchtime tomorrow. So because of time zones and because of different cultures and different traditions, Mother's Day for us is on a different date to you guys. So it shouldn't affect us. Unless you guys are going to be not around to watch the show. But that's a good question. Let's see. Billy Morgan, Just Bob. Ken Moss is here as well. Sean Aaron is here. Paul Morgan is here as well, which is awesome. And Dave from Bops, New York is here. He says hi, which is awesome. I'm glad you're watching, Dave. Thank you. Music to Motion is here as well. Mike, who was at the Studio One UK and Ireland meetup, which was awesome. It was great fun. So many of you actually were there, which is great. So I appreciate that. Paul Morgan says, I'm only half the man I used to be. Isn't that the lyrics from a Billy Joel song? Billy Morgan says, Mile High Club. Yeah, don't want to join that club. Might get into trouble with my wife if I did that. Alright, so if you guys got any questions, we are 22 minutes into the show. If there are no questions, then we will end the show. That's how it works here. Because that's why this show exists. So, get your questions in, guys and girls. Billy says 6 p.m. Central Time here in Marvelous Gonzales. Awesome. Sounds like it's very nice over there. I have no idea exactly where that is, but it sounds nice. For sure. So I'm just waiting now to see if you guys have got any questions. All my troubles seem so far. Oh, you're doing yesterday. Which is a very, very nice song, which I can't play. Well, I can, but I can't play it because if I do, the lovely people at YouTube will give me a nice copyright strike. And I don't want one of those. So I don't think I can get a copyright strike for playing an F major chord to an F sharp half diminished chord. I think those are okay. So, but yeah. All right. Don says, having trouble with using the black keys is something you can show how and when to use them. Might be a crazy question. Okay. And Ronald also asked, can you give an overview of the note effects? I've done that in my video series. The note effects, I've done an overview of those in the video series. So if you've not seen those before, go check out the video series, Ronald, for sure. Dwayne is here. Awesome. All right, to Don's question. Black notes. Well, if you're in a key that requires flats and sharps, then you're going to need to play these black keys. It is just kind of the way music works. And the reason why we have them is because if you take the C major scale, you know, music is written in lots of other keys other than just C major. And there's lots of reasons why it's written in lots of different keys. But if I take that scale, and let's say I decide I want to start the scale on G. If I play the same scale, you get G mixed Lydian mode, which is not what you want. You want to have exactly the same sound as this. And that's because this scale has a particular makeup. It has ingredients to it. So you have the interval of a tone, then another tone, then a semitone, another tone, and then a semitone at the top. So we want to get the same structure, but starting on G. So we go tone, tone, semitone, tone, tone, and then another tone, and then you finally want the semitone. Now look what's happened in order to make that happen. I've had to introduce an F sharp. So we now know that the key of G major has an F sharp in it. That means every F needs to be sharp. So you play this key, the F sharp, instead of the F natural. Alright, let's try another one. Let's try starting it on D. Tone, tone, semitone, tone, tone, semitone, tone. Now we have not only the F sharp, but we also have the C sharps. And in the key of D, every F needs to be sharp and every C needs to be sharp. And you can keep going around those keys in sharp keys. And there's also flat keys. So if I was to do the same thing on F, so I go tone, tone, I need a semitone here. Now I'm playing a B flat here. So what do we learn? We learn that the key of F, therefore, has a B flat in it. So every B must be a B flat, because if I try and just play a normal B, it'll sound weird. That's not right. It is if you're playing a Lydian scale, which has a particular unique sound to it, but we don't want that. We want to keep that composition of the major scale. Okay, so if I then go around and do the same again on B flat, so we go tone, tone, semitone, tone, tone, semitone. So now we have a B flat and an E flat. So that's where you get sharps and flats from, is they exist because of how the major minor tonal system works. So, and you know, most, if not all, Western music is built upon this major minor 12-tone equal temperament system that's developed over maybe the last 250 years. And so, you know, most popular music that you listen to, even grunge and death metal and music like that, is all based upon this system that was built in Europe in the, you know, late 18th century. So that's how this system developed, and we still use it today. Every popular style of music, jazz, blues, rock, funk, metal, thrash, grunge, R&B, hip-hop, trance, ambient, they're all based in this system to one degree or another. There are some musics that kind of extend this a little bit, and that would be jazz. Jazz is not just built on this system. It is mostly built upon this system, but not entirely, because in the 1950s there was a breakaway movement called cool jazz, which moved away from this system and based itself in a group of modes derived from this system that predate it to some degree, called the Gregorian modes. But that's why you have sharps and flats. So you kind of have to use them in order to make music make sense in, let's say, B flat. Because chord 4 is E flat, chord 5 is F. right? So for music to make sense in the key of B flat, you have to have this E flat in here. Otherwise, it won't entirely make sense. However, there are times where you might want to use an E natural instead of an E flat when you're in B flat major. And that is because it doesn't belong in the key of B flat, it becomes a chromatic tone. So it doesn't belong to the B flat major scale, it becomes a chromatic tone. So where might we use this? Here to build tension, because it doesn't belong, so it's very, very spicy kind of a sound. And it's pulling you, your ear is being pulled by this E up to the F. So that's kind of what's happening. So you could use it as a chromatic tone in that context, but you can also use it as a passing note as well. So, you know, if melodically I wanted to do something a little bit more colorful, or I could even introduce the blue third, the D flat here. So that is a kind of, it doesn't belong to B flat major, but I'm using it as a passing note between the C and the D. So you might call it a passing note, you could also call it a chromatic enclosure. And a lot of blues music and rock music is kind of based around that kind of idea of introducing blue notes, which are the flat third, the flat 5, and the flat 7, into a major scale context. And they don't belong, but they're there to provide color and tension. So that was a massive, very, 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 very long way of saying that's how you use blank notes. It was a good question. Let's see. So yes, I've answered Ronald's question by saying check out the note effects series as it stands. Ken says, on a serious note, play F sharp diminished 7. Really? There you go. Fair enough. How do you take Studio One out of administrator mode? Dead easy. On your desktop, which I'm not going to show you for particular reasons, but on your desktop, you can right-click the icon and you can uncheck the box for running in administrator mode. I think I might be able to do it from here. No, I can't do it from there. But yeah, that's essentially what you do. You right-click the desktop shortcut icon, and there's an option there that says run as administrator, and you can uncheck that, or you can do it from I think you can do it from properties. Properties general, is it? Can't remember where it's properties, whatever it is in properties. I'm not sure. Not sure. I thought it was in general, but it's not. But yeah, essentially you right click, and if it's already running in administrative mode, then you right click and you check that again, and it should stop it from running in administrative mode. I had to do that with Studio One 4 just recently, and Studio One 5. But yeah, you can pretty much uncheck something. Let's see, can I do this? Wait a sec. I thought all you had to do was right click it and uncheck that. I'm possibly wrong about that. General. No, I can't find where you do it. I'm trying to find out where it is. Sorry, guys. And I'm not showing my desktop for a particular reason. Security. No, I can't find that. I thought it was in, I thought you just had to right click, but it doesn't look like you do just have to right click. Here we go. Here we go. Right click, properties, compatibility, uncheck, run this program as administrator. That's what we do. That's what we do. Okay. Properties. So right click, properties, compatibility. Run this program as administrator. That's what we do. That's it. So I was right. It is in right click. I was just looking in the wrong flipping tab. So you right click the desktop shortcut icon, and you go to compatibility. You go to properties, then compatibility, and then uncheck run this program as administrator. And then you hit apply, and then OK. And the little Windows flag should disappear from I think you have to reboot your machine once you've done that, and then the little Windows flag should disappear from the shortcut icon. Pretty sure that's how that works. Now that I've just double checked, which is what I was doing just there, because I couldn't remember. Anyway, Dwayne says, I of course want to see more videos on the show page. I know I'm in the minority with the group. Not all of us do live sound, but there is my vote. Great. By all means, please do go down to the website down here, drop me an email, and let me know, because doing it in the chat here, the chat disappears, or at least it does for me, it disappears. And the only way I can find a question from the chat is to go and watch my video again and do the replay of the live chat, which means I have to go through and try and find it again. So drop me an email from the contact form on the website, and just basically copy paste what you've just said there into an email, and I will add that to my list for sure. I'm happy to do some shows on the show page. Videos on the show page. There we go. Got my words in the right order. Definitely I can do that one. And the chat just jumped. Yes, thank you, under the compatibility tab. Yeah, I was just looking in the wrong darn place. I don't know why. Let's see. That was a good question. Don Oliver says, learning scales most important. Thanks so much. Tired of just triads and the C note. Yeah, see, once you played and written songs in C major, it can get a little bit boring after a while, which is why there are other keys to try out. Let's see. Sean Aaron says, how many pentatonic scales are there? No standard pentatonic scales. Then I just learned a Japanese scale, and it was a 5-note, but different. There are lots of different ones, because there are Indian raga that have got 5-note scales. There are Indian talas that have 5-note scales as well, but not all of them do. Some have as many as 10 or 14 notes in them, because in Indian music you have microtones, which you don't have in Western music. Then there are African pentatonic scales, and they're only pentatonic because they've got 5 notes in them. So you can have any 5-note scale. It doesn't have to be, you know, the C, D, E, miss the F and G and A, and then, or even the minor pentatonic scales. You know, there are other pentatonic scales to check out. You know, and by pentatonic, I mean 5 notes, because that's literally what it means. 5-tone scale. That's what pentatonic means. So if you if you're looking up different world musics, different cultural musics, and you find some music that has different 5-note scales, definitely check them out. There's Japanese ones, there's Javanese ones, there's Balinese ones, and as I said, there are Indian ones and there are African ones to check out. There's a lot of different 5-note music to check out. And there's some Chinese music that's also built on that kind of pentatonic sound as well. And they're, you know, all that kind of music is really quite good fun to play as well. Can you demonstrate using only a few chords with the right hand, yet walk down the bass line with the left? I think I know what you mean, but I'm not entirely sure what you mean. Do you mean something like doing a 12-bar blues with a walking bass pattern, or I got rhythm chord changes? There you go. A little bit of walking bass. There is a secret to walking bass. Use the chord tones. There's a good little C major thing. Let me move the mic over a little bit. There's a good kind of C major thing, just using 1, 3, 5, 6, 1, 3, 6, 5, 3. And then to get to the F, you either do a approach note from the 3rd up, or you can do a chromatic approach from the F sharp down. So and then again another little chromatic tone. And all of it is about playing chord tones and then linking those chord tones together by either stepwise motion or chromatic from above or below, which is kind of what I did there, where I went. And that got me between C7 and F7 going. Basically going root 7, 6, flat 5. And then that leads you on to F, so root 7, 6, flat 6, and that leaves me to 1. And then I can do and then this D minor 7. Chromatic tone leading into the 1 of G, and then walking up chromatically, and then a 1 6 2 5 1 with chromatic passing notes, and And that's how a bass player would do it. That's how I would do it on my bass back there, is I would use exactly the same thing. Basically using the notes of the chord and, linking those together either stepwise or from a chromatic approach note from above or below. So going from, like, let's say F7 to B flat, I could go 1, 3, 5 of F and then the B to B flat. And then if I want to go back to B flat, and that's how you do it. That is how you do kind of a walking bass line. Waveform Laboratory, who is new to the show, welcome. Glad you're here. Thank you for joining us. He says, hi, I'm learning Studio One, found the channel by a YouTube search. Yes. Please do hit that subscribe button and the bell. When you hit the bell, select all notifications, then you'll get notified about this show. You'll also get notified about videos like the rest of the Note Effects series. And then also after the show, just go check out all the other videos I've got. I've got over 250 videos that you can check out on various different things. That said, glad you're here. Glad you're learning Studio One. He says, took me days to get my interface working. Well, I'm glad you have it working. So I'm very glad to have you here. If you've got a question about Studio One, now you're getting kind of used to it, that you would like help with, we've got about 15 minutes of the show left. Can't guarantee that I'll get your answer in this show. But like I said, if you want a particular topic within Studio One, like how to use EQ, how to use compression, how to insert effects, how to, put effects on a particular word, but not on the rest of the track, stuff like that. If you've got questions about that kind of stuff, or, how to do sends, how to do, insert sends, cue mixes, anything like that, or any mixing techniques, or using the arranger track, or chord track, or changing time signatures. If you've got questions about that, then, drop me an email and I can make videos on that kind of stuff as well. Be very glad to help you out. Ronald Figura says, when playing the black keys, the general rule of thumb is don't use your thumb unless you absolutely have to. On the groups of 2 black keys, use finger 2 and 3. On group of 3, use 2, 3, and 4. Yes, sometimes that's the rules. But like any rule, you can break them. You use whichever finger is going to be nearest for the line you want to play. If your thumb is nearest that F sharp when you need it. If your thumb is going to be nearest that note, then you use it, in my opinion. But hey, I never actually had any formal piano lessons. I just learned from listening to records and then, kind of copying what I learned from listening to those records and then going out and playing with bands. And I quickly learned what's going to work and what's not going to work, particularly when I'm trying to play at high speed. For high speed, your thumb's not always going to be the best tool for you to use. Let's see, Sting, for example, Synchronicity 2 regarding mixing up scales. Yeah, there are quite often times where he will use a Lydian scale over a major chord. Like, you know, if he was on F, he would use the B natural rather than the B flat. And that just gives a particularly interesting kind of flavor. And the chat jumped again. I hate it when it does that. Is this a Windows forum? I'm using a Mac Mini. No, this is completely platform agnostic. Although I am using Windows 10, there are people in my little community here who are Mac people, and I have people who are, you know, they are just Windows. I use both. You can't see it, but slightly out of shot here, there is a 2020 iMac. 2019 iMac. Yeah, late 2019 iMac. Sat here just out of shot that you can't really see. I have Studio One running on both, and I have Notion running on both. And both are great. Both are just as reliable and stable as each other. So yeah. Let's see, what else do we have? Sean Aaron says, yeah, I struggled with Studio One until I found this channel on Home Studio Trainer the last 4 years. I've learned a lot from them. Awesome. Just Bob says, program files, Persona Studio One 4, right click the Studio One XE file, drop down, option, program compatibility. Yeah, that's the other way to do it. Exactly right. Mike at Music Motion says, can I ask about your chat settings? I've watched previous live streams and the chat is not there. Really? That's interesting. If you're watching it, if you watch the replay of this show immediately after the show's finished, then you don't get the chat. You won't see it. However, if you kind of check it out the next day, then the chat should be on replay. I am going to go and check my settings, but that's how it should be. It should be that the chat replay is available. But it's not immediately available. It'll be available kind of like several hours later or the next day. But yeah, it should be there. Lockdown Band says, why would you not want to run Studio One in admin mode? There are certain instances where you don't want to run Studio One in admin mode. The first of those is that if you want to just drag and drop files from Explorer on Windows direct into Studio One, if you are using Studio One in administrator mode, you cannot do that. They just won't drag and drop. That's just the way it is. If you are wanting to drag and drop from Explorer directly into Studio One in admin mode, you cannot do that. You have to not be running in admin mode to do it. And there's a few other scenarios where running in admin mode is not maybe the best option. At the start, when I first started using Studio One, because with every other application, I ran pretty much everything in administrator mode. Gosh, that was a struggle trying to say that. And you know, we're talking like 8-9 years ago. And now I don't run anything in administrator mode. Does it stop me making music? Does it stop Studio One from running as it should? No, it doesn't. Studio One will run either in administrator mode or it will run not in administrator mode, and it will work just fine. It will not cause you any trouble at all. It won't cause you any problems. You'll not get any crashes. Administrator mode prevents certain things from being possible and allows certain other things from being possible, and vice versa. So if you're not running in administrator mode, then you can do things that you can't do otherwise. It's to protect the files and the folders in Explorer, pretty much, is why administrator mode exists. So I don't ever do it. Jonny Gives, one of those people that swears by running things in administrator mode. I'm not quite sure why he does. I'd have to talk to him about that, but I don't think there is any right or wrong. Just be aware of the fact that in some instances, running in administrative mode means you cannot do certain things. Moving files from, for example, a folder outside of Studio One direct into the program. And of course, the obvious workaround is that you have access to your files through the Files tab of the browser. You can just drag and drop from there. Absolutely. But, let's say, for example, let's say somebody sends you some stems to mix from Dropbox. Well, the obvious thing that you'll want to do is open the folder in Explorer, unzip it, and then drag and drop those files directly into the song, right? Well, if you're running Studio One in administrator mode, you can't do that. So you'd have to open that folder, you'd have to navigate to that folder in the Files tab of the browser, and then do it from there. Just drag and drop them from there. So it's kind of like it's a different way of doing it. It's a different way around of doing it. And some people find that clunky. I am one of them. I don't think it's wrong. I don't think it's right. It's just a different way of doing it. Let's see. Waveform Lab says, when I start Await My Mac, it requires a password. I'm assuming that means administrator. Yeah, that would be your password for your computer, not for Studio One or for your MyPresonus account. Yeah, every time you start your Mac, every time I start my Mac, it asks for my password. And that's just an administrative protection for your computer to make sure that nobody else can't use it when you're not using it. Just Bob says, why is it that AC/DC uses the same chords, different patterns in pretty much every song, and yet always sounds different? Different voicings? Every chord has a different voicing. If we take C major, just the triad. In root position, you have the root at the bottom. First inversion, you have the third at the bottom. Second inversion, you have the fifth at the bottom. So it would be different voicings of the same chords. Or maybe they're using the same chords, but just in a different key. So, let's say I'm going to use a 251 or a 36251 in F. And let's say my song is based primarily around that. But let's say then my next song, I decide to use exactly the same chords, but in the key of C. It sounds different, but I've used exactly the same chord changes. Let's do it in E flat. Okay, so 36251 in E flat. So here's chord 3. So, as you can hear, they sound different. Even if you're in a different key, using exactly the same chord changes, it will sound different, especially if you voice those chords differently each time you're in a different key, like I did just there. So, I didn't automatically, when I was in F, I went... This is fourth inversion. And then when I went to C, I the fourth inversion there, but I didn't hear. I used second inversion. Okay, so I went. So it sounds different because the voicings are different, essentially. Let's see. I meant a literal walk down. Oh, you mean something like this? Hey, that was a fun sound. Or something like that. Maybe that's what you meant. Sorry, Mike. Your mind is something I'll never fully comprehend, but I strive to one day play something half as good as you can like that. I still don't comprehend my mind either, so I wouldn't worry too much about whether you can understand my mind, because I don't understand my mind. Awesome Baseline says, Waveform Lab, if I did that, our bass player would diss me big time. Kind of depends. I am a bass player, as you can see, because I have a 1962 Fender Jazz fretless bass back there. And I have a whole bunch of other basses, one of which my dad has at the moment, and one of which is in a studio the other side of Edinburgh, which I've not been able to get to for 2 years because of lockdowns and things like that. But that bass sits in that studio because I quite regularly go there to do sessions for things like films and that kind of stuff. Let's see. Ken says, with walking bass lines, it is important to hit chord tones on the beat and keep passing notes on the upbeats, or does that not really matter? There are not many rules with walking bass lines, but there are conventions. One of the conventions is the root of the chord ought to be on beat 1. So, if I'm playing an F major chord, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. And then whatever else happens between beat 1 and the next beat 1 is kind of up for grabs. You can play chord tones, you can play chromatic tones, you can play extensions of the chord if you want to. But, you know, it kind of does help to spell out the harmony a bit, especially if the piano player is leaving large gaps. Which as a piano player, I do quite often. I will leave quite a large gap and just let the bass player and the soloist kind of fill in the gaps. And that means they have a little bit more freedom to play different kind of harmonic concepts off of each other. So, you know, maybe bass player is spelling out, you know, spelling out the harmony very traditionally. And maybe the, you know, the soloist, the sax player or the trumpet player is, you know, substituting other chords in, superimposing other chords when they're improvising, suggesting other harmonies altogether. And so I can leave gaps for them to be able to be a little bit freer, and then I can just suggest some of the harmonic bass so that everybody kind of knows where they are in the tune. So yeah, that's kind of what I do is, as a bass player, not just on the keyboard, but as a bass player, I make sure that I've got the root on beat 1 for the most part. I don't always, but I would say either every beat 1 or every other beat 1, I'm playing the root note of the chord that we're on. If the chords are changing that a little bit faster and it's two chords per bar, so instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, let's say I'm going F to D and then G to C, so 165. I would go 1, 2, because it's 1, 2, 3. The next chord is on beat 3. So I'm making sure that those downbeats, beat 1 and beat 3, when you've got two chords in a bar of 4/4, I make sure that the root notes are being hit on those, and then I'm just chromatically either from above or below approaching them. So and so on and so forth. There's lots of different variations on that. But that's essentially how a good walking bass line will work. But Mike says, yeah, jazz breaks all the rules. Yeah, there are rules, there are conventions, and it's important that you learn them so you know how they work. Once you know how something works, you can then personalize it. You can make it your own. You can stamp your own authority and your own personality on the music by bending the rules, or sometimes by straight up breaking them. One of the things I like to do is, if we're playing a tune and let's say, for argument's sake, we're in the key of B flat, when I'm improvising, I like to drift out of key. I like to go off and imply other keys, maybe related or maybe not related keys, in what I'm doing. So maybe I'll walk off and I'll end up in D major, or I'll be in something else. I'll be in B major or something. But I'll always make sure I come back so the ear doesn't get pulled too far away and then the music starts to sound really weird and not very pleasant to listen to because it doesn't make sense anymore. I like to pull the listener a little bit away and increase that tension like a rubber band, and then let go and snap it back to the key. And by doing that, I create this ebb and flow, and I create this tension and release that takes the listener on a journey, basically. That's what I like to do. And it does mean my rhythm section that I'm working with, they need to be solid on the chord changes. Because even though I might be off in some other key, I need to know where they are in those chord changes so that I can let go of the rubber band and land on the same chord as they do. So it's important that there is that harmonic foundation in place, but it doesn't mean I have to stick to it, and it doesn't mean I have to stick to the key center even. I can go off and do other things, and then I can come back. So that's what I like to do with improvisation, and also with just melody lines in just general. And Just Bob is talking about Jonny Gibe's live streams, which are Monday to Thursday, 6 p.m. Central Time and midnight on Saturdays. Yep, absolutely. And also on Wednesday, Jonny and I have a show called Songwriting Simplified, where we talk about songwriting, composing, arranging, and music theory, and stuff that's all related to how better to write your songs. And we approach it from a fairly simplified position, because we want to make sure that, the tools that you guys need for writing better and better music is accessible to you. So even if we kind of take you on a little journey away from, the 4 chord progressions, that, everybody uses, C, A minor, F, and G, we'll move you away from that, and we'll get you exploring other keys. We'll get you exploring other harmonic ideas and other chords and other scales and things like that. But the whole idea is that they are tools that you can use to get better at songwriting and just, increase the palette of colors that are available to you. So that's on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Central, and that is most of the time over on Jonny's channel at Home Studio Trainer YouTube channel, or it's on mine. But for the most part, it's on his channel unless for whatever reason he's not able to make it, and then it comes over here. He says, I've been using GarageBand, very limiting. I'm progressing beyond GarageBand, need the busing and the routing and all of that. Loving discovering the splitter. Yes, I did a video series on the splitter. Check that out. That is in this channel. I think it is in the Mixing Tips series. I didn't make a specific, a standalone series. It's part of my Mixing Tips series. But yeah, I've got loads of things like that. We are 10 minutes over. And there are some questions here that I'm afraid I'm sad to say I didn't get to. Mike at Music to Motion is going to have an after show party, which I will attend for a few minutes. But other than that, folks, I'm going to wish you all a very, very good evening. Thanks for coming, everybody. I appreciate it. We topped out at 20, which is a little bit lower than what we normally have. But hopefully, you know, viewership will pick up as we go forward into the summertime. So thanks a lot, folks, for coming. Thanks for the great questions, and I will see you on Wednesday over on the Home Studio Trainer channel for Songwriting Simplified. Other than that, I will have the next few videos on the Note Effects series coming out this week, and then we'll be on to whatever series you guys want to make next. Drop me an email, let me know. And I would love to get making videos that you guys want to see. So visit the website down there and use the contact form at the very bottom of that page, and that will send me an email, and I can compile all of your ideas into a list and start pumping out videos. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye-bye.